Hey folks, welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this Wednesday morning, NFL Draft Eve. A lot to get to throughout the hour. I'm Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Here's a rundown of the show today. Jam-packed. We got the latest NFL headlines, talking Gronk, talking Dez, talking Odell, and so much more. Then my top 10 NFL mock draft. If you missed my full-on mock from Monday, a little bit of a recap for my top 10 picks. And then NFL Network analyst Steve Mariucci, the Mooch, coming on the program. We'll talk about the NFL draft, some of the big-time rumors and storylines, and then a final word about what Josh Allen recently said as we enter round one tomorrow night. Very exciting at that. We thank you guys for tuning into the program. Hit me up in comments on Facebook as well as YouTube. Say hello, good morning. And let me know where you're watching the Cam Rogers Show from. I saw recently somebody from Norway was watching the show, so we've gone international. Gotta love it. All right, let's get into the latest NFL headlines. We'll start things off with Rob Gronkowski. He is back, as if there was any concern otherwise. Among some, there was. Now, he officially posted on Instagram he'll be back for the 2018 season. He met with Coach Bill Belichick on the matter. That was yesterday. And Gronkowski went ahead and made the announcement that he is coming back. So basically, the past 2 months have been worry for nothing, at least for fantasy owners and Patriots fans out there. Obviously, Gronk, very valuable to the Patriots. He has 76 receiving touchdowns in his career, third most among tight ends in NFL history. Only Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez have more. So Gronk obviously headed towards the Hall of Fame, it would appear. Now, there was a part of me that thought Belichick had already moved on, perhaps to trade discussions or, just accepted the fact that Rob Gronkowski is retiring. You guys maybe recall the recent press conference he had where Gronk really kind of ignored the question about the future with the Patriots. He was focusing on his dirt biking or whatever it was. And so it kind of made everybody think, maybe the end is actually here with Rob Gronkowski. So I give Belichick credit here for sticking with his tight end. I've been railing on old Bill for a few episodes now because I thought maybe he'd be moving on, he'd be trading Gronkowski. Now, there's an interesting theory out there posed by Peter King. This is what he said on the Monday Morning Quarterback article here. What if Gronkowski found out the Patriots weren't going to fall all over themselves to beg him to come back for one more year? And what if they told him they needed to know his intentions about playing before this draft, or they could not guarantee what they would do with him in 2018? What does that mean? The Cliff Notes, essentially, the Patriots maybe gave Gronk a deadline, like, okay, make a decision by this date, or else we're moving on from you via a new tight end in the draft, trading, whatever the case may be. Heck, Gronk could have been a part of a trade in the NFL draft itself. So, an interesting theory out there, and I buy into it. I bet you Bill Belichick was already scheming up the offense along with Josh McDaniels for life without Rob Gronkowski. Now, Bill has shown time and time again he's willing to move on from veteran players who are, contributors, some better than others. Lawyer Malloy, for example, Richard Seymour, Logan Mankins, Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins, all these players were pretty darn good in their prime. So I don't think Gronkowski was necessarily immune to that either. So it's an interesting story that came out. And so Gronkowski is going to come back for the New England Patriots. Are you surprised he decided not to retire? Hit me up in comments. I'll be tracking what you guys say, and we'll also feature your comments here on the broadcast today. But for Rob Gronkowski, it looks like he's coming back to the New England Patriots. I will say one more thing on this. Let's not rule out the potentiality that he still could be traded. All right? I mean, maybe Bill Belichick could still have a little bit of a grudge among the antics that Gronkowski has been engaged in. Now, the other argument is Gronk, younger player, maybe wanted to get some fun out of his system throughout the offseason. Okay, he got all that fun over with. Now he wants to get back to business. Now he wants to get back to football. So maybe there's that argument, but I don't know if that sat well with Bill Belichick, and I'm not sure it still does. You can point to the other thing, too, with Alex Guerrero and the body coach of Tom Brady, where Rob Gronkowski was reportedly working out with Alex Guerrero, and it didn't sit well with Bill Belichick and all of this stuff. So something to keep in mind there. Let me know what you guys think about Rob Gronkowski. All right, let's get to Tom Brady here. So he's planning to play as well. This coming from his agent a couple days ago. Don Yee chimed in on the matter, told Adam Schefter that Brady expects to play, saying, quote, he's consistently said he'll play beyond this contract and into his mid-40s or until he feels he isn't playing at a championship level. I understand the constant speculation, but this is one point he's been firm about. So it's kind of ironic. Yee told Schefter this, and Schefter was the original reporter of the story that Tom Brady is likely going to play, but he hasn't really said he's going to play. So with that, there's some speculation that he might retire. It was one of those deals. So Brady, of course, has 2 more seasons on his current contract with salaries of $14 million a year, which, by the way, is grossly underpaid for the best quarterback in the league right now. Yee also went on to say Brady essentially trains on his own terms and in the most efficient way. So Brady at this point doing whatever the heck he wants in terms of, getting prepared for the season and all that. Of course, he was not present for the start of voluntary workouts. That was expected. Brady was working with his charity and all that, I believe, in another country. So perhaps Goliath isn't crumbling before us just yet, ladies and gentlemen. Gronk is coming back. Brady is coming back. I do think the Gronkowski situation is still worth monitoring because I'll be interested to see how Bill Belichick utilizes Gronk throughout the draft. If he is still part of trade talks, it's certainly possible. The Patriots do appear still at a crossroads here in terms of the Belichick-Brady-Kraft trifecta. And perhaps they survive a few more years, perhaps not. But I'll say this, Belichick will be the first to break this trifecta, whether it's by his own doing or someone else's. I think eventually his decision-making will boil over where Brady doesn't like it anymore, where Kraft doesn't like it anymore, where Belichick is starting to lose the locker room even more as well. So I have pointed in the past some supporting details on that. The Malcolm Butler benching, the Alex Guerrero situation, the list goes on. And eventually things are mounting where somebody is going to crack, and I think Belichick will be the first one to do so, and it could get ugly. But for now, the Patriots are okay. Looks like, they're in fine shape for the 2018 campaign. Got a good amount of draft capital to play with as well in the first and second round. So for all you non-Patriots fans out there, the bad news is the Patriots are still the Patriots, at least for now. We'll see what happens with Gronk, though. Keep that in mind. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by the Game Time app. Get up to 60% off all those last-minute sports tickets, concert tickets, and theater tickets. Chatsports.com/tickets. That's how you download this 5-star app for Android and iOS users. Let's continue along here with some draft buzz. And the word is that Mayfield is now in play for the #1 overall pick to the Cleveland Browns. Adam Schefter reported an NFL executive told him as such. Now, the Browns have made noise about literally every quarterback at #1 overall. And this all plays into John Dorsey, the GM, and his plan. Dorsey wants everyone to come calling. I'm talking about the Bills, the Broncos, the Cardinals, whoever it may be. The latest puzzle piece was to get Baker Mayfield loyalists out there, whether it be the Jets or the Broncos, to call Dorsey and see about a trade. There's no doubt in my mind the Browns are going Sam Darnold in #1 overall. I'd be stunned if they go in any other direction. They're going Sam Darnold. This is all noise. John Dorsey has his handlers right now working the phone lines with the NFL insiders of the world so that they report that the Browns are somewhat interested or may go with Baker Mayfield at #1 overall or Josh Allen at the top of the board or Josh Rosen. It's also these GMs, executives of other teams come calling. McGagan of the Jets, maybe Chris Ballard, but I doubt the Colts trade up. But it's to really open the eyes of all these GMs surrounding the Browns, maybe Elway as well, to call and perhaps move up. So it's all a game. And if you are the Browns general manager, okay, everybody work with me here. You're John Dorsey, all right? It's tomorrow night. You're on the clock. You got 10 minutes to decide. Who will be the #1 overall pick in your eyes? And I got the broadcast here on my laptop. Eugenio is saying, "What's up, Cam? Thanks for watching the show, my man." We've got Travis saying they'd be fools to pass on Sam Darnold. Travis, I agree. I think it's Darnold or bust. Could maybe, just a sliver, understand why they go Baker Mayfield, because I do think he is the most polished quarterback in the draft. But I think it's Darnold, and we'll see what happens there. David saying you take Quentin Nelson at #1 and then get a quarterback at 4. Browns always mess up. Well, the Browns have been the sad factory of the NFL. There's no doubt about that, David. Thanks for the comment there. All right, keep hitting me up in comments, and I'll be tracking what you guys talk about. Let's get to the 49ers. Now, the Reuben Foster situation is continuing. It's an ongoing investigation, of course, with the domestic violence case that is before him. But we do have some more clarity on his future, at least in terms of if he is convicted. So if Foster is proven guilty of felony domestic violence, among other charges, the 49ers will cut him. John Lynch said as such. So the 49ers, of course, recently released a statement that was shortly after the news of the charges that said Foster's status on the team is, quote, under great scrutiny. And that was certainly left up to interpretation. No longer, he's going to be cut if Foster is indeed convicted. Now, he has an April 30th court date to either make a plea or more likely seek to push that to a later date. So he's charged with domestic violence with an allegation that he inflicted great bodily injury against his live-in ex-girlfriend. The 49ers are obviously in a position where they need some sort of insurance policy at linebacker now. I've mentioned before they have Malcolm Smith and Brock Coyle. They have Eli Harold as well at the linebacking core. Malcolm Smith coming back from a pec injury last season. He didn't even see the field during the regular season. Coyle is more of a rotational guy. It could be a situation where the 49ers go with a Tremaine Edmonds or a Roquan Smith there at #9 overall to essentially fill in that void at middle linebacker, because right now it looks like Reuben Foster is going to miss at least 6 games. At worst, he's going to be in prison for 11 years. So I think even if he is found not guilty, I am fairly confident the NFL will impose a 6-game suspension on Reuben Foster. It's the whole Ezekiel Elliott type deal. Like, the NFL has a different burden of proof than, say, the United States legal process. So Roger Goodell, judge, jury, executioner, the lead arbitrator, can just say 6-game suspension right off the bat there. So it doesn't even matter what happens in the legal process. That's how the NFL works right now. And, of course, they're going to address that when the new CBA is up in a couple of years. But as of now, that's kind of how it's going to go with Roger Goodell. So that's the future of Reuben Foster and the San Francisco 49ers. Keep an eye on the Niners going linebacker in that first round, or the potentiality that they trade back. Say if Roquan is off the board, Chubb is off the board, Quentin Nelson's gone, maybe the 49ers trade back for a quarterback-needy team out there. Buffalo Bills, Arizona Cardinals, somebody like that. All right, let's get to some Dez Bryant news here. And the news is there's no news. There's no clear destination for Dez Bryant. As of now, there's no front runner in what I call the Dez sweepstakes. So the Ravens were reportedly interested in him, but they recently signed Willie Snead, and the Saints decided not to match that offer. So Snead is now on the Ravens, along with Michael Crabtree and John Brown, make that 3 free agent additions there at wide receiver. So Dez is essentially out of the running for Baltimore, and that's the only team we've really heard rumors about in terms of signing Dez Bryant. There has really been no other team mentioned out there, at least not what I have heard, going through my sources. So as we stand, Dez is firmly in purgatory, if you will. No clear indication in terms of where he will go. Now, Dez himself has spoken about teams out there, most notably the Giants, as you see on your screen, expressed a lot of interest about playing in New York. A few reasons why. Obviously, number one, he gets to play the Dallas Cowboys at least twice a year. Number two, can play alongside Odell Beckham Jr., who he is friends with. A video recently surfaced on Instagram of Dez Bryant working out with Odell. You got Eli Manning. I know the Giants probably will get a Saquon Barkley or a Bradley Chubb there at number 2 overall. I don't think they trade back. I'll talk about that later. So, I mean, it's all enticing there for Dez Bryant. I don't have the Giants on my top 5 new landing spots that I'll show you in a second here because I just haven't heard enough from the Giants side of things that tells me that they're interested in signing Dez Bryant. The Brandon Marshall release, by the way, may be interesting timing and all that, had nothing to do with Dez Bryant. They were going to cut Brandon Marshall, and that was just a matter of time. They had a good amount of salary cap space relief that they could have gotten, and they certainly did get so when they cut Marshall. So that was just the reality of the situation. The Giants were strapped for cash. Brandon Marshall coming off an injury-riddled season where only played in 5 games. That's an easy cut there. So I don't think the Marshall thing has anything to do with Dez Bryant. With that said, I do have an updated list here with the Ravens now out of the hunt. Top 5 new landing spots here for Dez Bryant. Here's a look at things, and you guys let me know what you think about this list here. I got New England now at number 1. I've got Seattle at 2, 49ers at 3, Colts at 4, and there is the new team on my list, the Houston Texans. You think about the Texas connection there. Dez doesn't have to go very far. You can look at DeAndre Hopkins recently taking to Twitter, posting a picture of Dez Bryant in a Houston Texans uniform with the 88. Looks pretty darn good in those colors. All right, so there's that. There's the salary cap space for the Texans, and I think there's actually a clear-cut role for Dez with Houston. Maybe not the case with, say, the 49ers or the Patriots, but certainly the case with the Houston Texans. You got Will Fuller blowing the top off the coverage. DeAndre Hopkins will draw the double coverage on the outside. You get Dez there as well, going up with the basketball-type catches and the red zone and perhaps the chain mover that the Houston Texans could certainly use. Now, everybody chiming in that, you know, maybe he could go to some other places out there. Jose saying Green Bay. I thought about Green Bay. Of course, Jordy Nelson no longer on the team. They do have Devontae Adams, who they recently invested in a lot, extended his contract last year. A good player at that, but certainly could look at Dez going to Green Bay. Be interesting, Aaron Rodgers to Dez. Now, Dez recently talked about the Packers, really didn't seem all that interested, Jose, so something to keep an eye out for there. Harris Rubenstein, Cam, I will bet you all the money in my wallet the Patriots don't touch Dez Bryant. Harris, $20, all right? $20 on that bet, all right? Tom Downey, can't take that bet. Once the Patriots tackle Dez, you win. So Tom Downey's saying I should take the bet. I am taking that bet, Harris. We're putting $20 on it. David, we don't want him in San Francisco. You know, a lot of people are in that camp there, David. I have San Francisco there because I think they have the salary cap space to do it. John Lynch has talked about being active in free agency. But the argument, David, of course, is they recently extended Marquise Goodwin, wide receiver they like a lot. Right? You got Trent Taylor at the slot, good player. Maybe they get wide receivers in the draft as well. And Pierre Garçon's coming back from injury. So in that vein, I don't know where the clear-cut role is for Dez, and maybe John Lynch doesn't want kind of the drama, you should say, on that team. So something to keep an eye out for there with San Francisco. Hit me up in the reaction poll. Best fit for Dez Bryant. Give me a like for Seattle. Didn't talk much about them, but I will say this. After Doug Baldwin, there is a clear-cut role for Dez as well. He could be the wide receiver number 2 on that team. I know they have Tyler Lockett and Marcus Johnson, who the Seattle Seahawks got in that trade involving Michael Bennett. Indianapolis is really interesting. I think Dez would be a clear wide receiver 2 for Indy as well. But I don't know if Dez wants to go there considering, like, Andrew Luck hasn't thrown a football yet, and I'll get to that headline in a little bit here. Then the 49ers, give me a heart for San Francisco. Give me a wow face for the New England Patriots. I see Roy Dez coming to the Patriots. Constantine saying he'll go to New England, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Chicago, or the Jets. So, it's very much up in the air here. It's all speculation at this point because we do not have anything clear-cut in terms of where Dez could go. But like I said, Dez has talked about his top destinations, and it sounds like he holds the Giants in very high regard. All right, so keep hitting me up in comments. I'll read what you guys talk about here. In regards to Dez, let's get to Le'Veon Bell. There is no updates on the ongoing contract negotiations between Bell and Steelers leadership, more specifically General Manager Kevin Colbert. So he recently said the two sides have not progressed on the matter, and oh, how the Steelers continue to screw this up, ladies and gentlemen. And as a Ravens fan, I love to see it. Now, Colbert said the team will reevaluate things once the draft is over, a.k.a. if they get Derrius Guice and they have the leverage, right? Because you guys may recall on Monday's episode, I have the Steelers getting Derrius Guice. And, it's funny, somebody in comments actually gave me a D for that pick, calling me an idiot. I understand why, because a running back for the Steelers in the first round doesn't make too much sense. But look at what could be going on behind the steel curtain, if you will. There's no progress here between Bell and Pittsburgh. And the Steelers are going to have to look to life without Bell, perhaps, in 2019. I mean, he's probably going to play in 2018 with his $14 million price tag, with the franchise tag. But, after that, he's very much up in the air in terms of his future. Now, obviously, the Steelers are in no hurry to ramp up negotiations here. But I do want to hear from you guys. Should the Steelers pay up for Le'Veon Bell? He wants top-line money, top-line wide receiver type of dollars here. Give me a heart for yes, a like for no in terms of Le'Veon Bell here. So Bell, unsurprisingly, did not participate in team workouts, voluntary, of course. He and the Steelers have until July 16th to complete a long-term deal, should that go down. If Bell played 2018 on the tag, I will say this. The Steelers better be careful because he could move on, and if Bell indicates as such, Pittsburgh may have to go out and grab a Derrius Guice or Nick Chubb, or whatever the case may be there at number 28 overall in the first round. Just the reality of the situation. And Bell could be one of the most, or probably the most coveted running back in free agency next year. So let me know what you think about Le'Veon. The story is no update as we stand. All right, let's get to Colin Kaepernick. We do have an update on him. So Pete Carroll, head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, has not ruled out still signing Colin Kaepernick. So this despite Seattle signing Austin Davis and Stephen Morris as backup quarterbacks. Carroll said, quote, he wasn't going there when asked if the protests during the national anthem were a factor in the Seahawks canceling the planned workout with Colin Kaepernick. Of course, Seattle had originally planned to bring in Cap, but he reportedly refused to indicate whether or not he will kneel in 2018. Now, there was some muddy reporting between Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport. Schefter had kind of one point of view, Rappaport had another point of view, and it was kind of hard to tell what exactly the motivation was behind canceling this workout. But my assumption is Kaepernick wasn't really direct in terms of his plans for 2018, and as such, Seattle was like, all right, we're not bringing you in because we need to hear from you that you won't kneel during the national anthem. So amid all of this, Kaepernick has that ongoing collusion case against the National Football League where he is alleging all 32 NFL owners colluded against him to keep him out of the NFL. Recently, the Miami Dolphins owner was questioned in this case. So what do you think? Should the Seattle Seahawks sign Colin Kaepernick? Let me know in comments here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. Ricky's saying, I hope no one signs this guy. He has too much drama with him. I will say this, when you sue your employer, it certainly makes it harder for you to find a job. Now, the other flip of the coin there is, well, maybe he's trying to put pressure on the owners by way of this collusion case so that somebody goes out and signs him, and maybe he can just drop the case altogether, and NFL owners won't have to go through all the legal fees and all that, and the NFL in particular. So, it's something that we'll continue to monitor here, but it looks like the best chance for Colin Kaepernick to be employed would be with the Seattle Seahawks. They have shown the most interest throughout the last couple of years, and it's all relative, like 30 teams total have shown no interest in Colin Kaepernick. One team did last year, the Baltimore Ravens, until owner Stephen Bisciotti said that's not happening, and then the Seattle Seahawks. So Seattle has shown the most compared to all the other teams out there. And so Pete Carroll has not ruled out bringing Colin Kaepernick in. And I'll say this, he'll certainly beat out Austin Davis and Stephen Morris in training camp and OTAs and perhaps in the preseason as well to be that quarterback number 2 behind Russell Wilson. You know, he's just a better quarterback than Austin Davis and Morris there. It's just reality. So let me know what you guys think. Pretend you're a GM. Are you signing Colin Kaepernick? Do you want Seattle to sign Cap? And we'll see what happens going forward here. That collusion case is ongoing. I have talked about it before on this program. It is very, very hard to prove collusion. You essentially have to have really good evidence to indicate that all 32 owners were in a conference room and said, we don't want Cap in the league, let's work together to make that happen, kind of thing. So I actually, as I talk more on this program, am buying into the theory that Kaepernick wants to put more pressure on NFL owners to perhaps have one of them sign him, and then he can drop the collusion case there. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll continue along here with the NFL headlines. I mentioned Andrew Luck earlier today, so he is still not throwing. The mystery that is Andrew Luck continues. He is not expected to throw at minicamp, not even in like the warm-up sessions. Luck has been present and in uniform, but still not tossing the pigskin. He's still rehabbing from that shoulder surgery from January of 2017. Yes, it's been a grueling road here for Colts fans and Andrew Luck fans in general. The good news is Indy has a good amount of draft capital in that second, third, and first round there, so they can play with some big-time draft prospects to bring on for the Indianapolis Colts. So I guess that's one silver lining to all this, but I think everything that Colts fans are probably focusing on is the health of Andrew Luck and the future of Andrew Luck, which I just really don't know at this point. It's looking really bleak. To use a golf comparison, the injuries with Anthony Kim way back when were kind of like a mystery. Like, for some reason, he was never golfing, was never playing. And this could be kind of one of those deals where we don't know when Andrew Luck returns. Roy, with a real good pun here, Luck has no luck. I agree, Roy. Luck was subject to some really bad draft picks and a bad pass-protecting offensive line. He was a sitting duck behind that front five there for a couple of years now, and looks like it is eventually biting him in the butt. All right, well, biting him in the shoulder, I guess I should say. All right, let's continue along here. The Cardinals, in the latest draft buzz, could be moving up for a quarterback. So Cardinals have made some serious noise about this, and this is not surprising. The Cardinals, along with the Bills, by the way, could be movers here for a quarterback in the top 10, top 11 picks of the draft. I'm not sure if it's the greatest idea. Now, I'm talking about the Arizona Cardinals here. I really don't see 5 quarterbacks going before number 15 overall, which is where Arizona drafts. I'm thinking somebody's going to be there at 15 for the Cardinals to pick up. In my mock draft, I have Lamar Jackson available, and I think they like Lamar a lot. Steve Keim really doesn't have the draft capital to play with either, general manager there for Arizona. So trading up, you're going to be giving up a good amount of draft capital, which from the beginning you don't really have, at least not a lot of it. So I'm thinking the Cardinals' best course of action here is to sit back and hope that a quarterback drops to them. If he doesn't, then that's totally fine. They can go wide receiver at 15, because wide receiver is a big-time need. They got Larry Fitzgerald, and then it's like J.J. Nelson. They lost John Brown to the Baltimore Ravens. So it's like they have a couple glaring needs, and at 15, they can go in many different directions. Somebody's going to fall to them, whether it is a Lamar Jackson, maybe a Josh Allen if they like him. Baker Mayfield, probably not. But Calvin Ridley will be there if 5 quarterbacks go before 15. There's no doubt about that. So we'll see what happens with the Cardinals, but they're making noise about moving on up. Let's get to the next headline here. Talking about the Giants, Paul Perkins has suffered a pectoral injury, was present at minicamp in a sling. Timetable is ambiguous at this juncture. So I mention this because perhaps it further feeds the Saquon Barkley narrative for the Giants. I don't think Gettleman trades back unless he gets a pot of gold. I think he stays pat. Yes, the logic is Gettleman and Bills GM Brandon Beane are good buddies from the days at the Carolina Panthers, and maybe they work out a deal. From what I have been hearing and what I have been looking at, doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. I don't think there is going to be a trade with the Giants moving back. I think it's going to be Chubb or Barkley for New York. I don't think they go quarterback. And I think it's going to be Barkley. And yes, the Giants have Jonathan Stewart, but he's in the twilight of his career. Wayne Gallman, more of a receiving back. And then Perkins was plagued by injuries last year and managed just 41 carries for 90 yards in 11 games. So Perkins isn't the answer. Wayne Gallman is not the answer. Jonathan Stewart is most certainly not the answer long term. So, I mean, it further feeds the Saquon Barkley type of logic here, and I think that's what's going to happen. Gettleman's not going to pass on Saquon at 2. I think he's in love with this kid. All right, let's stick with the Giants here. Odell Beckham Jr. was present at Minicamp. So the Giants launched the Minicamp yesterday as they have a new head coach and are able to host one. It's one of those special new coach minicamps. And Odell was there, still rehabbing, of course, from an ankle injury he suffered, so he just engaged in the walkthroughs, but nonetheless, encouraging news for Giants fans, and all but puts the nail in the coffin, really, for any Odell Beckham Jr. trade discussions, at least in my eyes. I don't think he is going anywhere this offseason. Things could change next offseason if they don't settle on an extension with Odell. Now, something to monitor here, whether or not he holds out in training camp, right? He might do that just to kind of put the leverage back on his side and hopefully get an extension of some sort. He's slated to make around $8 million for the 2018 season. He wants upwards of $18 on a yearly salary basis, so he's asking for a lot. And we'll see if the Giants can make that happen. We haven't heard that the Giants will make that a priority right now. Of course, the draft is coming up, like literally tomorrow night. So maybe it's something they address in June when the dust settles a little bit there. But Giants fans, don't worry. We got Odell sticking with New York.